Chat. Oh, Chat, what's going on, Chat? Hello, hi. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Therapy Thursday. I am your, one of your hosts, I guess. I'm Kilted Pork, and we will soon be joined by my sister, Asteria. For those of you who are new here, yo, Soulfire, how's it going? For those that are new here or watching this on YouTube in the future, we call this Therapy Thursday. What we do is every Thursday we go live here on Twitch, and we encourage people to come in here with any mental health questions that they might have, and drop them in chat, and then we can discuss them live here, on the air or whatever you want to call it while we're streaming. So if you have anything that's bothering you, or you're just curious about what narcissism is, or what depression really looks like, or split personality disorders, any of that good old stuff, yeah, that's what it's all about. So my sister says she's a professional therapist. Her day job is a therapist. She works with a lot of I guess drastic case clients. I don't really know how to put it. She can explain it better when she comes in. You'll be back, gotta take a shower. All right, sounds good. So far we'll be here for a couple hours, so we do this for about 2 hours, and yeah, so we typically go over like how our day was and all that, so as people come floating in. Yeah, let's get into it. It looks like she just showed up. I know she was running a few minutes late. Oh, and for those of you that are watching this on YouTube in the future, sorry for about the long intro, the 5-minute opening. The recording system on my OBS isn't working. It just causes my computer to crash. There was an update that happened, so a bunch of things kind of went wacky. So instead of seeing like a shortened version that I try to cut the front off of, you're getting the whole thing as it goes live on Twitch. So if you want to watch this live and would like to ask questions, feel free to come on over. You can go to twitch.tv/kilted_pork and just give us a follow and come join in. 6:30 p.m. Pacific every Thursday. And if you don't remember what that web address was, you can check the link in the description below the video. That being said, let's bring her in here. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
How are you?
Oh man, that's kind of a loaded question right now. But I'm better now. I'll talk about it in a second, but I'll definitely do the quick intros before I get into it.
All right, have at it.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Asteria. No, I will not be telling my actual name here. I am an associate marriage and family therapist that works in the state of California, which I do have to actually say. And welcome to Therapy Thursdays. Therapy Thursdays is a way that that I'm gonna say we, because I know I say I, but we give back to the community, because I got to shout out Kilted for holding a platform to talk about this and still hold and talk about very big conversations and topics and so forth. I like to use this platform to kind of get back to the community. I understand times are tough and it's really hard right now, and after really thinking about it, it's right now is a really lonely time to be a human. Everyone's so caught up in their own things and just trying to make it. So I like to use this platform to find a moment to kind of come together and talk about mental health and answer questions and so forth, because I know resources are tough right now, and I don't want people to feel like they have to go about it alone. So we do use this platform to talk about mental health, and I do answer questions related to mental health. I do have some boundaries of things I will not discuss here. One, I will not be doing any diagnosing. I always like to say, if you think that your mom is narcissistic, she probably is. This is correct. Let's just assume that she is, just to make it easier. I also do because of the ethical bounds I have to work under, just because it would also just gives me kind of the big ick. I don't discuss suicide with minors or anyone under the age of 18, because people that are under the age of 18 are one of the protected classes I work with, and there's just something that kind of gives me the kind of like the uncomfies to talk about that here. So if you are under the age of 18, I'm going to ask that you kind of step away from topics of suicide. Although I do want to, like, if we want to talk about that here, we can talk about it here, because I would like, outside of that, because I think it's a topic that has a lot of taboo related around it. And I think it's something that honestly all humans kind of think about it here one way or another. It's very natural to think or to kind of bring it up. So I would like to like destigmatize talking about it. Outside of that, feel free to bring in your conversations, your topics, and so forth. Otherwise, Kilton and I will just kind of go about the chat. But we will stop and kind of put a pause on our chat for topics that jump into the chat. So feel free to put those there. I would love to be interrupted by some topics. And yeah, that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do better interrupting you sometimes.
Yeah,
we get long-winded sometimes. Sailor Slash, pop off, y'all. Welcome.
I think that we're just passionate.
That's a good way of putting it. And we both like to ramble.
We do. I think one of the things as I've gotten older, like when people are like, "Oh, what do you look for in like friendship and so forth?" They're like, or how do I know an environment is a safe place where I feel like comfortable to genuinely be myself? Is if I get to feel like I can ramble. I love rambling. Like I love not having to think about the next word. I love where I can just be here and like not put two and two together of like trying to sound articulate or anything like that. So I just love rambling. Don't you just love rambling?
Yeah, I'm the kind of guy that'll... It's actually kind of ironic since I'm doing a lot of stuff with like calculus right now. I'm a guy who likes to tangent off tangents off tangents. There's a math joke for all of you.
Oh wait, hold on.
Yeah, knee slapper.
No, I can't do that. My joints are old. I'm 85 years old. I can't do that.
Whatever.
So, how are you?
Oh boy, I sure am.
Yeah?
It's been a week. Stressful. There's I actually have it written down as one of the topics I wanted to go over. I mean, do you have anything you wanted to cover?
Let me think. Well, outside of my own personal check-in, I'm trying to think. There was I'm trying to think. I guess kind of like I think that one of the topics I want to talk about today, I was kind of keeping in mind, is talking about the concept of like internalized messages. So about like the messages that we internalize or the expectations that we are to like have to hold ourselves to, or like the views of the world that are like taught to us that kind of imprint and impact how we view the world or how we navigate in the world. That is the topic that comes to mind that I would like to, if we have the time to do so.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
So on my end, I'll just like give the story about how the week's been going. School has been interesting and not in the fun way. Let's see, so you've heard me complain about my physics professor.
The one that doesn't know what to do and like seems lost?
Yes. So basically there was an incident where we showed up to class on Monday and he notified us that the director of the physics department had told him, and I guess all the professors, that we were supposed to be to a certain point within our curriculum by that day, and lo and behold, we're behind.
Oh my gosh.
Go figure. And my first thought when he told us that, and I said it to my classmates that are sitting next to me, I was like, oh wait, so you're telling me that one day where you gave us an exam that you said we can take home, and you gave it to us at the beginning of the day, you're like, hey, take this home and work on it, this is going to be your exam since we're behind, and then you proceeded to not teach us anything, and you just told everybody to work on the exam in class? That's probably why we're behind. So I was like, oh no way, how did I freaking see that one coming? And so that was the first part of it. And then yesterday we had class. Long story short, I just didn't go. Because he told us what the next thing we were supposed to do was. We were supposed to read a certain chapter, do the homework, turn it in Wednesday, and then jump to the next chapter, do the homework, and turn it in, I think, by Monday. So I didn't get the homework done because, well, he didn't teach us anything. And so I guess from what I'm hearing from fellow classmates, well, let me put this out there up front. Instead of going to class, I went into the math center, or like the tutoring center. And there was a couple of the students from my class already in there, so they decided not to go also. And then I was up there for about 40 minutes, and then I noticed that an entire group of my classmates all showed up. So this is 40 minutes when we were supposed to be in class. And I look at them, I'm like, hey, what's going on? What's happening? How's the class look? Did you guys go? They're like, oh, we went. We walked in, and 25% of the class didn't show up. And then he asked if anybody had questions on the homework. And I think 95% of the class, or maybe even more, was stuck on a certain problem. And so they asked, hey, we're stuck on question 51. Can you please go over it? He's like, oh, yeah, sure. And apparently he starts going up to the board, gets halfway through it, gets stuck. And he goes, apparently he turned to the class. He's like, I'm stuck. Did anybody complete this? Because I don't really know where to go from here.
Oh my God.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I was like, no, asshole. Like, that's why we're asking you. You're the professor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as he said that, and he said he's stuck, he doesn't know what to do, another 50% of the class got up and walked out.
Wow.
And then so half of the 50% walked out, and then a group of that 50% cruised into the STEM center, or the math, the tutoring department. And that's why they all showed up, and they're like, dude, it's so bad, he's not teaching us anything. So there's now, I think, 9 or 10 of us from my class in there, and we ended up commandeering, getting a hold of one of the tutors in the center and said, hey, can we just go into these rooms over here, because they're in a new space now, so they have these rooms that have doors and stuff and glass windows, so you can go in there, and they have desks and a big whiteboard like a regular classroom, so you can utilize that space if you want to. So we all went in there, shut the door, and we had one of the tutors go over a bunch of the homework stuff for about an hour and a half before other students had to go to different classes. And so at the end of it, we're sitting there, we all told him, we're like, dude, you taught us more in the last 90 minutes than we've gotten all semester.
That's fucking awful, dude. That's absolutely horrendous, and it frustrates me in reflection to the educational system.
Yes. And then one of the students from my class, she had gotten the homework done. I guess the problem we were having issues with, she found the solution online or whatever and just wrote it down. And so she went to go turn in the homework that was due yesterday. So she went back to class because it was due at the end of class. She said when she walked back in, there were 5 students left.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we have a class of, I think, 30 or 32. So 5 people had stayed till the end. And
this is ridiculous.
Yeah, and apparently the professor was getting salty when everyone got up and started walking out.
The professor can't see why people would want to leave.
I don't know.
Really?
I don't understand his method behind his madness or his thinking. And so I was, I'm not surprised that any of that's happening. But so this gets to my mental health topic here.
Okay.
After I kind of heard that, and I'd spent 2 whole days in that center. So we're talking maybe like 15, 20 hours worth of my time in that center trying to do one homework problem.
Ridiculous.
And I never figured it out. The professor couldn't figure it out. The tutors just didn't have time to get to that one. And, as soon as that happened, I was just like, also this will add to like why I'm stressed over it. So last week we had a calculus exam. So that's like what, week 3 or week? Yeah, it's week 4. We had a calculus exam. I did good. I got like 91%. Happy.
Yay.
And then this week was this week, and then I found out yesterday. I was talking to one of my classmates. I was like, man, I haven't even started the homework for the next section, that needs to be due for the next exam. And he's like, man, you better get on it. I was like, like, we got time, we can get it. He's like, no, he's like, the next exam's next week. I was like, we just had one last week. He's like, yeah, now the next one's next week. And so and I haven't touched it because of the damn physics crap. So now, as soon as all that information hit me, and I just like sitting there looking at how much time I spent on it, I'm now behind in both classes because of this. And I had this overwhelming sense of just helplessness. Like I've lost control of the situation.
Yeah.
And I just like, I almost broke down in there. I'm just like, this is fucking shit. I wasted so much time on this, and I don't know if I should keep trying to go through with it. I don't want to quit because I'm not a quitter, but it's now affecting 2 classes instead of just 1.
But it's not, but you recognize it's not your fault, right?
I know that, but I need to make a decision, and I'm just kind of bummed out about the situation. Like I said, well, you know me. When I lose control of a situation, when I have no control over it anymore, I start to spiral, and I get really frustrated.
Yeah.
That's probably why I get like upset in traffic. I'm just like, fucking, goddamn, why you guys have to just fucking go?
Yeah.
Why does one guy have to not use his turn signal and then go, time to go over 4 lanes, clips another car, and great. Now we have freaking like 10,000 people coming through this freeway, and we can't move for 2 hours because one idiot's like, well, I gotta check my Instagram. It's like, great, cool, thanks, ass.
That's their name too. It's just ass.
Their name is Ass. Asmodine Hattery. They call him Ass Hat.
If they're gonna shenan once, they're gonna shenan again.
Yeah. Haha. That's clever.
That's not mine. I promise you. I got that from somewhere. But I just love it so much. I'm just like, oh, that's a good. Like, there's this fucking whole thing where this person is like recording. Anytime somebody says something really clever, they put it into a notebook, and then they like made it into a PDF so people could have access to it. I'm like, damn, they're doing the people's work right there. And it's just fucking hilarious to me, dude.
Sailor Slice asks, or doesn't ask, it's not really a mental health thing. Just say, tell me why I thought that vape was a Sharpie at first. You know why? Because it's white.
Oh, you're vaping right now?
Yeah, I got like these cheap ones that Eggy has been feeding me.
From their job?
Yeah, from work, since they can't sell them anymore and they can't do anything. So it's white, and if you just put a black cap on it, it looks like a Sharpie.
Wait, are you smoking in your house?
Yeah, I shouldn't be, but I kind of just started doing it. That means I'm going to have to clean all my interior windows again.
Which is, I mean, I'm not doing that in the shame piece or anything like that. It's more the surprise piece, because you are somebody that's very anal intensive of not people, or like you, nonetheless, not just people, but just you, just not smoking in your house. So that's just very surprising to me.
Yeah, I don't like it when like anything combustible goes off in my house. because that's a whole different problem. And this one, it doesn't cloud up like my main one did. You know, my big like electric one that I filled it up, like the reusable one, the big one.
It's electric. Boogie woogie woogie. Yeah, I know.
The one that had it's like my main one. So that thing would cloud up my house to where the smoke alarm would go off. This one can't do that. So that was just bad, and that's why I had to throw away my smoke alarm, because with vaping, and this is why I refuse to vape in my car. Still. Is because the vape, it gets on the glass and there's this film that it puts on there, and it just looks like the scene from the Titanic where they're having sex in the car. It looks foggy all day, like someone's just like, you know, smashing vag like inside the house, even in the middle of the summer when it's like 100 degrees outside. And I was like, oh, this is just vape juice glued to all my windows. So that's why I don't like doing it.
Oh,
and so it gotten on the smoke detector, and if you know how smoke detectors work, basically there's a small laser beam that I guess it bounces off a mirror, and then it goes into a receiver. So laser goes out, hits a mirror, it goes back into like a thing to receive the laser. And the mirror I know this is what happened. The mirror had gotten so fogged over with the vape juice that it would just set it off constantly, even when I'm not home. If I wasn't vaping or anything, even when I quit vaping, the thing would still go off in the middle of the night for no freaking reason. So I was like, all right.
Oh, that sounds fucking ridiculous.
So I just tossed it. I gotta buy a new one.
So you're experiencing helplessness.
Hamperlessness.
Oh man, where do all your clothes go?
I know, right?
No, that makes a lot of sense. Honestly, one of the things. Hold on, I gotta take breath for this one because I know I'm gonna get long-winded. Okay. There's something that's just in itself so exhausting of how the body, and I mean like in the universal bodies, like many people experience this, of how much we internalize and adopt the feelings related to systemic issues.
What do you mean systemic issues?
Meaning like, or systematic issues, or no, systemic, whatever word. It's that when something falls short of meeting the flow of efficiency in like your job, the educational system, my job, you know, these formats to which we have to function in, or are forced to function in, let's just be honest, is that when there's issues there that could probably easily be taken care of, let's just also be honest, but that's not our job. Our job isn't to fix the problems of the job. It's just to do the job, right?
Right.
But yet, when things don't work out or align, or we don't get support or these things, that our bodies adopt that as like guilt or shame or frustration or like hopelessness, you know, things that kind of like attach themselves to us and then we have to carry around. For example, at the place that I work, there for a long time there was a problem about the issue of training, right, and doing proper onboarding, right? And I don't even say proper onboarding because again, that's me assuming I know what that looks like, but just onboarding, right? And for a long time, like many people would, like I would, because something I do, because I am this way, is I would say, hey, here's some ways that we can kind of like work on this, right? And I felt a lot of joy in doing that because like I felt the frustration of not having that proper onboarding, and I want to make it much more simplified or kind of just easier for anyone after. Well, it wasn't adopted, right? And so what I had to feel was a lot of people questioning or confused and so forth, right?
Right.
And so I kept on, and now the responsibility piece is that I kept on like adopting resentment towards the people that, because that wasn't even my job, but I value teamwork so much that I was like, no worries, I'll do this, right? Also, I value efficiency, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah.
Me too.
So in that, I created this setup in order to efficiently do a job, right? Well, after a long while, even now that I'm no longer there, right? Because I still work alongside, but I'm not technically there.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's finally a system in effect, right? And I realized how I adopted shame and guilt many times in that process, where like, oh, I should have known how to do this. But I didn't give myself grace of saying, if I did know this, I would have done things differently. And I think that's something that people commonly take on. They're like, I should know better. This should be like, they take on more responsibility. They take in like, and they adopt a lot of like harsh and uncomfortable and self-deprecating feelings towards themselves because of how, as a result of other things outside of their control falling short.
Right.
I say that because, as in a reflection of what you said, is that like, it sounds to me at least that you are taking in these feelings towards yourself, or you're holding this like hopelessness as a result of a professor that's not properly doing this, which is taking away your time and energy and so forth to compensate for that, while it's also impacting your schedule, your other classes and so forth. And my feelings towards that is just, I fucking hate that. I feel like a lot of times, even with the clients that I have, a lot of folks just take in a lot of these feelings, and it takes away the value that people have towards themselves. And it's just like, it just sucks. That's just it. That's just my final thought is like, it just sucks.
Yeah, because as soon as I realize I'm behind, now I'm always sitting there thinking, well, I kind of blame myself on certain things. Well, it's like, well, I could be looking up other resources online how to solve this better. Well, I mean, I am looking up stuff online, but I could be searching more. I could, even when I'm in the like STEM center, you know, Eggy goes in there. A lot of people I know go in there. It's like, I feel like I should socialize a little bit less, because we all sit at a table and work. But, you know, someone will say something and I got to start cracking jokes, and, you know, it snowballs. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there's time wasted here and there. It's like, well, I could have saved an hour there, or and been working more. And it's just like, I feel like I should be doing more. Putting in more time. But
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is that yes, there's a line of responsibility of when to crack jokes, when to put the boundary of like, okay, like, hey, this is not that time right now, and that's okay. We'll make time for that, right? It's just not right now, which is okay. It's also a piece of like, you said it, you're like, oh yeah, that exam and like the homework, it's like, but the next exam is the following week, and you're not getting the proper, you know, lessons, and you know what you're paying for, right? It's like, right. And so what you do is that your system automatically overcompensates that and puts it in these like these ways that kind of like will, like, your body has learned, if I take this and I morph it into this feeling or something like that, it will motivate change to happen so I can gain control again. So example once again is like, for instance, if my job was supposed to have taught me properly how to do the fucking job, right? For a long time, my old job.
Right.
And they just didn't, right? And so what did I do? I said, I should know better. I should do this. I should, right? I should ask questions or anything like that. But now that I'm like in stepping back, it's like, hey, I did ask questions. I did do a lot of these things. And I had to overwork myself by shaming myself of, quote, knowing better, or guilting myself of like not being or giving more of myself, only to make up where a system fell short. And that's what I'm saying is bullshit. I feel like that happens so commonly in the world that we live right now, that a lot of times when people come to me saying, oh, I suck because this didn't work out, that when we actually lay out on the table, they're like, oh, well, if this was properly done, I wouldn't have to feel these feelings. And I'm like, exactly.
Yeah.
So and that is horrible. I have such lovely friends that I care so deeply about that I have to hear them say such horrid things about themselves. I should be this. I'm not lovable. And all these like very related kind of comments and so forth. And I'm just like, and then I ask, like, who told you that? Where is this coming up? Oh, my job. Oh, this parent. Oh, this partner. I'm like, oh, so anyone else but you. Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, so somebody went up to you, planted that into your nervous system, and then the world continued to reinforce it so that it makes it harder to get out of your system or to accept challenge. That's trauma. When people are like, oh, I've never had trauma. Oh my God, where's my mic once again? Oh. Everyone has trauma. Just get over it and move on like the rest of us. And in regards to accepting it, everybody has trauma. It's not just these big horrendous moments. It's not these big it's not always these distinct like events, like these identifiable moments in time. It can be like these messages that you receive directly or indirectly, and how they stayed in your mind and in your nervous system and then keep getting reinforced by the world. That is also trauma. Like, I cannot emphasize that enough. And in that, like, even though it's not just this one isolated event, it's how it all builds off of each other, which makes it feel like it's hopeless, or it's or like it feels hopeless to get from under, and you feel helpless to find escape from.
Yeah, and let's see, so far Dolfino was wondering what we're discussing. Basically we're discussing, long story short, just having some issues at school with people not doing their jobs, and I am kind of putting the blame on myself why something's not getting done. So it's more of a blaming. We're basically discussing how you're taking on like a feeling of you should have done better or known better, even though you didn't really have the resources to have you do what you need to do properly.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah, we're trying to talk about how, like, when a system like school or work is not showing up to supporting you in like effective ways, how then you internalize the faults in that and how it impacts the view that you have of yourself and the work that you do, or the actions or behaviors that you engage in, but especially the view of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, and when I was sitting there and I came to that realization, I even said to myself, I was like, okay, well, why am I upset? What's going on? I was like, okay, well, I've lost control of a situation, so I know that's where it's stemming from. And then I started weighing the options, like, do I want to drop this class so I can focus more on my other class, but then I'll feel like I've given up, and I have other classmates that I don't want to let down. It's not I'm letting them down, but it's they enjoy having me as a classmate in a way because I'm able to, like, there's certain things I can explain better, and also I bring a sense of humor into the classroom amongst my classmates. When they're all stressing out, I'm able to, like, kind of, get them to at least laugh about it a bit, like release some tension. So I kind of don't want to let them down in that sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's something I feel like, trying to get the words that I want to say. I feel like that's something I feel kind of goes undermined, especially for you and anyone that engages in, like, trying to add humor to environments, because I feel like a lot of times people take a lot of things very seriously, which, again, to each your own on what that means. But I think the way that you try to help people is by adding humor to the room so that people can kind of step away from the pain, if even just for a second.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really big. And it also feels like, what I also hear is that it also sounds like it can become a weight for you of, like, continuing to show up and be that person, which sucks too. Like, I feel like it's a double-edged sword. It's like, to help is to hurt, or to hold pain, and, like, that just pain, that just sucks.
I guess. I mean, I'm sure there's some weight there. I just don't feel it like that.
Or you're accustomed to it, like the whole rock in the shoe analogy I always keep using. It's like it may, like, you're so, it's like, or another way to see it is, like, because you being an athletic person, it's like the stamina that you build, right? You are so accustomed to experiencing it. It's like everyone feels pain when they run, right? Or discomfort or something. It's like, but you built that resistance and that tolerance with it, that maybe you don't even recognize it anymore, and you just keep on going.
Yeah, well, you recognize it as I forgot where I saw this, but it had something to do with exercising and working out. It basically said it never gets easier, you just get better.
Yeah.
So you're still working as hard. It's still difficult. It's not easy. You're just doing it better. Like, now it hurts just as much, but now you're doing it with more weight. Or, you're just as exhausted, but you ran twice as far to get that exhausted. But, you're still hitting that same point of, like, Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at chat, looks like there's a conversation about ADHD floating around.
Oh gosh, there's a conversation?
Yeah.
People talking? Yay!
Yeah, chat's talking with each other. Me too. It's nice when a community can be built.
I do like hearing that.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's basically what I've been doing. I don't really know what else to cover in that thing.
That's okay.
How are you? We never got to that part.
Oh man, I'm so used to it. I have to admit that I am so good, not in an actual, like, this is something to be proud of. I am very well equipped to not talk about how I'm doing. Like, especially if I'm, like, not doing great. So I ended up having kind of a like a full blown like emotional breakdown today.
At work, or did you see your therapist?
No, this was post work, pre the stream, and I was like taking a second to jump into the like immediately into the talk like to the Discord that we talk in.
Right.
Because I was having this breakdown, and then our eldest called me, and which was really great that he did, like actually, because I got some big support and heard some big words that are very helpful for me, and I've never actually heard him say before. And it's like I kind of feel what's the word? I feel when something doesn't feel real, or surreal, like it felt surreal.
I was like deja vu.
Right? But very surreal to hear him say of like how the impact I have in the world. And I had this breakdown in a very, just to be transparent, because I feel like a lot of times people think that people that are clinicians or, therapists, like kind of can like keep their shit together. And it's like, yeah, I'm like human first, dude. Like I'm always going to be human first.
Right.
So everything kind of collected on me about how much I feel depended on for different people for different things. And I was trying, like, typically this feeling comes and goes for me, but this one was sticking pretty heavy for me. I was really uncomfortable. I know that it was starting to get bigger because, and I know how this is going to sound, and it is what it is, but when I started asking for like perspective from others of like, hey, in this scenario, like, what do you do? It's not that I don't always do that, but when I started doing that for like asking a bunch of people that question, it's because I'm like desperately looking for support. That's my way of showing that.
Okay.
And so I was doing that yesterday, trying to talk to people, trying to understand, kind of even setting up to chat with like people this weekend and kind of like hold space for myself, because I'm trying to also learn that like I can't expect people to reach out to me. I have to also show, like, I have to ask for help.
Right.
And so setting that all up, but everything kind of all hit me all at once today. And so like I was trying to keep my shit together on the drive home, because again, I don't want to be emotionally elevated while driving, because again, that may not be so safe.
Right.
So I was trying to like, okay, I was like, hold on, like I gotta like, so I put on music, and when I'm really going through it, like I put on music that really like holds message to what I'm going through, and I like sing it out, and that helps me a lot process my feelings. But right when I got home, it's the equivalence of like you have to pee, but then right when you see your front door, then you really have to pee.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I felt it, but the second I came into the house, it was unbearable. Like
Floodgates?
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 The floodgates opened, but the thing is, the whole time I was there, like feeling it, I was coaching myself through it, in that I was telling myself, like, don't go on your phone, don't try to distract, don't try to escape, don't try to avoid, like, just feel it this time.
Thanks for the follow,
And
Sailor Slice.
I was really just there. And cause I was like, I had to tell myself, this isn't gonna go away. Like, this isn't the first time I felt this. This probably won't be the last time I feel it. But I have to feel this as big as it feels right now, because I'm not just feeling it for now. I'm feeling it for as big as I've always felt it. But I've never sat down and felt my big emotions because I've always been scared of them. But I'm teaching myself, like, emotions are just that. They're just like momentary moments that come and go. And yes, big ones come up because I'm also feeling them for how, like, not just this moment, bless you, but also how but also like the collection of it. Remember how I was saying earlier, like, when we feel something and somebody puts a message into us and then the world reinforces it, it gets so big that it's hard to like get past it or move through it because of how big it can could truly get.
Yeah.
Okay, the feeling I was feeling, this isn't my first time feeling this, but this was my first time like really letting it go. Like, and the way it came out of me was similar to like somebody mourning, like a big deep mourning cry at a funeral. I was crying so deeply and felt it in every fiber of my body that, and all I kept telling myself mentally was, keep going, like, keep going, you can do this, like. And I kept feeling it and I kept saying stuff and I didn't feel bad, and I just kept saying things because I was like, I need to say this, I need to feel this, because if I don't, this will eventually kill me, right? And I finally said all of that, and then I kind of like sat there, and when I kind of like I think maybe you'll personally get a kick out of this one more than anything. When I like laid, I kind of just sat there for a second and I looked up and I just kind of said out loud, and I was like, how I know I'm better than my dad. Because I know in my heart of hearts that what I'm doing right now and feeling this and going through it is the one thing that he couldn't get and like accomplish for himself, because he had to do everything in the world to actively not feel this, and he did it, right?
Yeah, the drugs and everything just to cover it up.
Yeah, the drugs, the working, the drinking when he did drink at one point, the tobacco, the fucking, even the 12-step meetings, because he made that his, like, he made everything his world except finally dealing with these emotions, and he'd run from these emotions, right?
Just distraction to distraction to distraction.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and as much as people are like, oh, that's not a form of avoidance, it's like, just because it's a like subjectively a good thing, it could still be a distraction, right? Like, work is a distraction for people commonly when someone passes away, right? And like, just as an example, for some folks. So anyway, and I just sat there and I felt it, and then yes, I felt completely depleted after that, but I also felt proud of myself. And all of a sudden I started kind of like giving myself like arm pats and like giving myself a hug, and I was just like, I was like, I did it. I got through some big stuff and I feel a whole lot better. And
was Artemis there to support it, or?
Oh, he was here. I have a sneaking suspicion that he has told multiple people in our social support about this because for some reason there has been an influx in the text messages I've been receiving since this has happened.
I feel you're staring at him like very wincingly.
I'm staring at him, all right. I am staring at him, and he's just like, me? And I'm like, oh, yes, you.
I'm just a teapot. I didn't do nothing.
He's like, silly goose stuff, right? But anyway, yeah, I feel like the thing is that, and then, and again, why when the eldest called me, I was like, I have a sneaking suspicion he's calling me because somebody told him I'm not doing good.
During Neeb's night? Jeez.
I know. I was like, dang, his stream's on right now. It's like kind of not cash money, but no. But the thing about what was shared with me, which I want to just say with the things that were really meaningful to me. And again, how does this go into mental health for anyone that's just jumping in rather than just like, why are they just talking about themselves? First of all, I can't. Fuck you. Second of all, is because this is mental health. This is just stuff that people don't talk about. We live in a society where we always want to show the best parts of ourselves. I don't. I hate that. I hate putting on and then reinforcing the facade that like the world is perfect, because perfectionism doesn't exist. Perfectionism is a form of addiction, and I'm good, right?
Right.
Anyway, why this is mental health? Because this is very real. This is what people do. Like, people just go home and fall apart and hurt and then don't tell anybody about it. But I want to tell you, it's okay to say it. It's okay to talk about it, because it's very real. So with the eldest, what was really big for what they told me, I'm even gonna start tearing up just even like saying it out loud, is that he told me about how much like I was there to like help him, right? And he told me some very vulnerable stuff, so I'll keep that to self, but more so of like things like I never knew how much he like respected me and like what I do for people and how I show up for people and like how he sees me, and so forth, because I always felt like no matter what I do, I will always just be the little sister, right? And that's something I always carried with myself, regardless if it was said or not. And when I heard how much he valued me and how much like the view in the world he sees of me, I was like flabbergasted to hear this. It was kind of like hearing the apology you always wanted from a parent. Like, it's like, sorry, I fucked you up. It's like, gasp.
Gasp.
But it wasn't like that for him. He just was being very honest and open about his appreciation for me, not just for me, but he made me have to like, he had me like reflective, like he's like, every person whose life you enter, you end up changing for the good. Like every person, he's like, and then he started listing, he's like, every person, once you sat there and been with them for a long time, things change for them. And so he was like, it sucks that like you have to feel such, these things too. It's like, and it's something that like is just basically it's like, it's not common what I can do. So it's like, I shouldn't sell myself short. And I didn't even tell him, but I was selling myself short. Like, I sell myself short quite often because I'm like, I keep thinking of like, what is my part in this, like, for folks or for others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard that from my eldest fucking brother, to whom, regardless if the part of me that doesn't want to admit it, I'm just gonna fucking admit it, because I'm in a good one today. It's like being the younger sibling, having your older sibling, for me, say such vulnerable and praising comments about me,
Mm-hmm.
was like, it felt good. It felt really good.
Oh, that's good.
And I was just like, oh. And I'm like, but I'm like shy. I was like, oh no, I'm being perceived. I let me be seen, right? But yeah, it was like, I guess one of the things it's like, the reason why I was kind of having my whole breakdown, and I would love to hear if anyone in the chat has ever related to this, because I think it's good to have an open talk about this, is like, but what about me, right? Like, I show up and I do all this for others, and yes, I generally don't do it for praise. I don't do it for personal gain. Like, I just don't have that connection. It's more so why I was saying, but what about me? It wasn't because what I do is so that people will love me or care about me in this world. It's more so that I've experienced being abandoned and being hurt and being kind of left to the wind.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done so much work on myself and helping myself that I don't want people to feel what I've gone through. Like, and I can't make that stop for them. But if I can just be one person where they like that, they can feel safe enough to like feel big emotions and feel safe and like so forth, like then that's what I want. I want them to feel like they are not alone. I just don't want like the world is already so lonely, right? And so the place of this message of, but what about me, right, is like, I'm speaking from my trauma. Like, I'm speaking from the pain of me growing up and not being prioritized by my parents. Me not and that being reinforced in small ways or big ways in life. But the pain and the weight of the pain is not from what everybody else in the world did. It was the weight of the initial exposure to the pain. And that's where I was crying from today. It's that enough people and enough things were triggering that button inside of me, and I just had to feel it and let it be expressed.
And you feel better now, right? Oh, I'm assuming.
I am getting so many messages right now. I'm like overwhelmed. I hate being perceived. Sorry, like, there's so many, like, it's so nice, but Jesus, and I'm like, my face feels red. Like, anyway, I'm gonna focus again, and say this, like, there's this quote I want to like read real quick.
Okay.
Because I watched this show the other day. First of all, if anyone's seen this show, please talk about it. The show's called Fleabag. You watch, it's on Amazon Prime. I've been wanting to watch this show, and it's 2 seasons, and I think it's like 12 episodes total. That show blew my mind when I really started to think about that show. But anyway, the whole point is this quote that is being said about the idea of love, but I think it's important in regards to being a human.
Okay.
Right? So the like, it's a tiny little speech, so I'm just gonna do it really quick. The speech is where like this priest is talking about love, right? And he says, love is awful.
Mm-hmm.
At a wedding, by the way. It's awful, it's painful, it's frightening. It makes you doubt yourself, judge yourself, distance yourself from the other people in your life. It makes you selfish. It makes you creepy. It makes you obsessed with your hair. Makes you cruel. Makes you say and do things you never thought you would do.
Mm-hmm.
It's all any of us want, and it's hell when we get there. So no wonder it's something we don't want to do on our own. I was taught if we're born with love, then life is about choosing the right path to put it. People talk about that a lot, feeling right when it feels right, or excuse me, where it says people talk about that a lot, feeling right when it feels right, it's easy. But I'm not sure that's true. It takes strength to know what's right. And love isn't something that weak people do. Being a romantic takes a hell of a lot of hope. I think what they mean is when you find someone that you love, it feels like hope. And I want to say that because I think what is the lens I work as a clinician is I want people to find hope in themselves again when life took so much of that away from them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think because if they find the hope in them, they will be unstoppable. Or even if they experience road bumps, that they will have their moments and they'll jump back up faster. Because I think that people keep thinking that they have to find love and hope and support from so many external sources. And yeah, that's true that feels good from external sources. I get it. I feel that too. I think that until it is true that it's felt and experienced internally, I think people set up themselves to go on an endless journey of finding it externally. But I think that leaves them vulnerable to being hurt a lot and being let down and suffering a lot. And although I think there's a lot of power from the external world because I know we can't do it alone,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's gonna take a lot of internal work to find hope within self and feel okay with self, because despite all the relationships you're gonna have in this world, the one that's guaranteed is the one with self, because you're guaranteed to go to bed with yourself every night. So that's my little rant.
Gotcha. And that's the hard part.
Yeah, it's very hard.
And then it also brings up the question, like, how do you know that you've gotten to that point where the hope for yourself is there? How do you know? Do you just not know?
That's a great question. I think I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone of how you know it's there. I think this is what helps me. I actually think I think that identifying it is the easiest part. I think implementing it is the harder part. And this is how I know what my hope looks like. I sit with myself and I ask myself, is there a part of me that towards myself I am able to participate and engage in empathy, compassion, and curiosity towards myself? That's what my hope looks like. Because because the reason why is I have experienced so much loss in life so far, in my 85 years of life. That I have dealt with the feeling of literally being abandoned, like fucking same day. But what I do is that if I sit there and I can feel a part of me holding compassion for me and empathy for myself and curiosity for myself, that means I got me for me. What that took for me to get there was stepping away from judgment towards myself when I was feeling big feelings, or just feelings ever.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I would catch myself and literally out loud. So yes, I know this is gonna sound bonkers for anyone that wants to take on this skill, but when I could hear myself being absolutely horrendously mean to myself, and trust me, there's nothing that you can say to me that I haven't said like 3 times, 4 times, a million times worse to my own self. And I feel a lot of people could relate to that.
How about clap rumples? Have you said that to yourself?
I have not said that.
Okay, so there you go. I win.
I have not said that to myself. But you know what? I'll get on it. I'll let you know how it goes. Is that the second, or not even the second, as soon as I can, even if it's not immediately in that moment, even if it's not right after, even if it's not like, it's not until like hour or minutes, hours, days, weeks, whatever, years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that I eventually find a moment and say, hey, like, I care for you and you're only doing the best that you can. And I would say that over and over again. And I know many a times, trust me, I'm a fucking therapist, where I hear people say, well, when I say that to myself, Mary, because this is what you sound like to me. But when I say that to myself, you know, and so forth, the stereo and so forth, whatever, is this. I feel like I'm lying to myself, right? You're already lying to yourself when you say those mean things to yourself. You're already lying because the messages that you're saying to yourself are not coming from you. You're just repeating the messages that you directly or indirectly received from somebody else. Whether it be a caregiver, whether it be a friend or a loved, whoever it is. You're just regurgitating the message that they shared with you directly or indirectly. But the thing is that it took up your voice. So, and how I know is this, and I'm going to ask you this, ready?
Mm-hmm.
And I know this because you have been somebody that has notoriously have been really mean to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you could say and be nicer to yourself, would you?
If I could?
Like, if you could. Like, without question, without just automatically be nice to yourself. If you were in ultimate power and control, would you just start doing that?
Yeah.
That is the common answer I always hear. Because they're like, because I hear folks say, like, well, and I'm like, I was like, okay, let's step back again. If outside of what somebody else has said, outside of whatever the case may be, even if it's something that's hard for you to imagine of you saying nice things to yourself, checking in with the needs that you have, would it still feel good? Or would it feel like, man, I wish at one point someone did say something nice about me? Like, if you have ever had that feeling or thought or so forth in some point, there is the desire to be kind to self. It's that people have either told you enough messages directly or indirectly that makes you hard and difficult and maybe downright painful to accept, or you are scared of it. You're downright scared of it because when somebody told you these nice things, they hurt you in the same sentence, and now you have impacted trust with them. But I think when you really kind of sit there and try to lean in the vulnerability of empathy, compassion, and curiosity of yourself, I think that is where what identifies as hope.
Yeah, and actually that kind of brings up something funny that happened this week. I don't think I'm throwing them under the table. I mean, they're pretty open about this stuff. So Eggy, when I was at what was it? Tuesday, I was at work, and I was sitting there, and I was just kind of running through my head of how many calories I'd burned the day before versus how much I was taking in. I was just like doing like, a calorie count. And I was running through my head. I was like, okay, I ate this. And then I was like, what else? I was like, I think that's it. I was like, oh, and Eggy gave me some of her cookies. And I was sitting there. I was like, that was really nice of her. And so I picked up my phone and I texted her. I was like, hey, you're awesome. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
And so you can tell that something has happened because her immediate response was, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, why? She's like, are you sure? Like, what's going on? Like, I need to call you? Like, do you need to talk? What's happening? I was like, no, I'm fine. And then a few hours go by, and like 5 hours later, she's like, no, seriously, what's wrong? Are you okay? I was just like, because I gave her a compliment, and she's not used to that kind of, she talks down to herself so much. That's probably why her and I get along. Like, we kind of have that same broken wire syndrome. So I just thought it was kind of funny because, like, I gave her a compliment and she didn't know how to handle it. And it's like, it's like, I kind of know what she's talking about. It's like, have you ever had like somebody, it's like, you're so used to people just being a piece of shit that when somebody says something nice to you, you still go, ow. And you're like, yeah. Oh, wait, like your automatic reflex is to say ow. It's like a dog that's been beaten its whole life, and then you go to pet it on the head and it freaking cowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though it's like, here's something nice. It's like, oh, God, don't touch me.
No, yeah, absolutely. Freaking, and that's heartbreaking. Freaking for real. Like, so many a times that like people are so used to being beaten and hurt.
I'm gonna grab a beverage real quick, but I can hear you.
That when people are actually nice to them, they cower, they are hesitant. Some may even bite. Like, have you ever, like, some may, like, in that metaphor of a dog and everything like that, like, they might like fight back when you're just providing kindness, because again, the thing is like, and this goes into many different topics, but if you as a dog kept getting hurt by humans, right? And humans kind of all look alike to a dog, right?
Right.
That you can't say this is a safe human, that's an unsafe human. If you kept getting this so much.
Mm-hmm.
So your system just says, I have to assume all, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't tell if this one or that one. And so when people reach out their hand, even if they're being nice, like, you still are hesitant. And even more so, you may be still looking forward for the shoe to drop or the ball to drop, right?
Right.
Of like, it's like, okay, but when is this gonna change? When will you leave? When are you gonna hurt me? Right?
Right.
And it fucking sucks. It really just fucking sucks. And I know a lot of people experience that and go through that. And it's like, and I definitely know because I work with them day in and day out. And it's just like, it's just so much, right? So I think it's really important, like because many people come up to me and I've heard people say like, well, I couldn't do what you do, right? Or they have an idea that what therapy looks like, and no, you're wrong. I'm just going to tell you you're wrong. Unless you're a therapist, you're wrong. Anyway, is this. You can do a portion of what I do. Don't worry about the modalities and the theories and the trauma treatment and everything like that. There is something very, very simple and yet can be so downright difficult for some people. So I want to give that credit to that you can do. Just be kind. Like, even in the times where you don't want to be kind, just don't add more pain. Because that can change the whole thing. And I know this sounds very cliche, but one small thing, one small action can be the make or break of somebody being alive.
Right.
One small thing could be it. Like what you shared, right? You said to Iggy, and like you gave that kind of like affirmation and sent it her way, right?
Yeah.
That is what I'm saying is something simple that could be done. Holding space mentally and reaching out here and there for folks can be life-changing, because they can show this as an example of, hey, this person held, like, in all of the time and all of the things everybody has to think about every fucking day, all the time, they reserved 1 second or whatever to say, hey, thinking about you, hope you're doing good. Time is priceless, and they chose to invest that time for you.
Mm-hmm.
That does mean a lot. Do people take it for granted? Sure. Do people not always value it? Sure. However, I encourage more than anything to, what you can do is be kind, and if you can't be kind, just don't add more pain. That's my thoughts.
Right. Yeah, I was just kind of thinking about that, and I know other people. I won't say their name on here, but the other one that I got the crush on, she same thing. If I give her a compliment, she just kind of makes this like wincy face, like, because she doesn't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm like, oh, you look good today, or that's funny, or looks like you're in a good mood, or just something like that, or hope you're having a good day, just whatever. She was just like has this like sour response to it, probably because, you know, the same situation. It's like they're just not used to that stuff. But if I like crack a joke that's, you know, my sense of humor, I wouldn't say it's mean, it's very inappropriate, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like she'll laugh at that and like give more of a positive response from that stuff. Like, yeah, was it yesterday? She was wearing a sweater, and like the fashion of it, like the back was kind of cut out, like in sections. Mm-hmm. And like I was like, oh, you know, cool sweater, and she just kind of gave me a look, like that sour look or whatever. And then later, I said something. She said, she cracked a joke at me. I was like, oh yeah, look at you! You couldn't even freaking buy a sweater. That's all there. Did they give you a discount? Did you win that thing in a raffle? Like, what happened? Then she laughed at that. Mm-hmm. They just can't. I don't know. It's just like, I guess they just don't hear it often enough.
Yeah, well, think about it, even like the analogy we said about dogs, right?
Yeah.
Is like, It's like they can't tell the difference, and so, or that when they experience they have experiences that somebody would say something nice but follow it up with behavior or words that were painful. So now when they hear those words, they're anticipating the pain. They're getting ready for the hurt.
Yes.
Right?
That was like her physically tensing up, like,
Yeah, because it's uncomfortable and they're getting ready to protect themselves, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, it must be really difficult for them to hear those things and feel those things, right? I always say that, like, I even have clients, gosh, I've had straight up have clients that have screamed at me, like, don't say that to me, blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, and I always say, I'm like, and I still have care for you. Like, say it anyway, mm-hmm. right? Because, again, you have to show, like, they're not going to trust in that 1 second that you're not going to hurt them. They need to unlearn the pain and then relearn that it doesn't always look like that. And as much as people think that they go to treatment and they get these things and their lives will be better, is that everything that is being taught and all of these things in therapy is that you're learning it, or you're receiving the exposure to it, but it's going to be a matter of time of it repeating itself to that exposure. Yes. And that also includes what you say to yourself. That's why when people say, I don't believe when I say nice things to myself, I'm like, then say it again and say it again and say it again. Like, go into the mirror, look yourself in the eyes. It doesn't have to be the nicest thing in the world. Like, it could just be like, hey, like, I like that I chose this shirt today. Or, hey, like, or even say neutral stuff. It's like, yep, that's some brown hair I have, right? Whatever, right? Start there if you need to. Because when you do these kinds of things, you're literally retraining your nervous system and unlearning all the messages that you received from other elements of the world, so that you can get back to a place or arrive at a place to begin with where you'll be more receptive to kind words and to kindness in the world. If not, your body is going to keep seeking the negative reinforcement or the pain because it's so familiar with that. So when people are like, oh, I like when I get hurt, it's like, no, you're familiar to getting hurt. And when people are nice to you, you're scared that you're going to get hurt by it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I consciously had to make an effort and start doing, and I guess it's made a change. I mean, I'd say it has. Is a while ago, that maybe like a year or 2 years ago, something like that. Maybe longer. I don't know. COVID's really thrown off my concept of time.
True.
But, when people would compliment me, I'm just like, well, what the fuck you mean? I'd be like, what are you trying to say? And then I made the conscious effort when people would say, oh, that's a nice shirt, or, I like your hair or something. I was like, okay, let's try saying thank you this time. Instead of, and so I'd just say thank you, and I'd still feel uncomfortable, but after a while, I started to, I guess, kind of believe what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so now people are like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, oh, well, thanks. Yeah. And then, I don't have that.
I do notice this in you now that you pointed it out.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Yay.
You did it. You unlearned and relearned. You did something that's really, really hard to do. I'm really proud of you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fucking, like, that's the shit that I think, like, as much as people are like, they get so hung up of like, I don't believe that, like, that I think they discredit themselves before they even, like, give themselves a try, So, yeah, good stuff, dude. Good soup. I think that's really awesome. I think that's also a great skill for people, so I want to extend that to chat if they want some more skills, is that when one of the things I encourage, I even do it myself. I don't try to say sorry so much, not because I don't want to say and apologize if I do wrong, and that one's also something I had to learn too. But it's also like not everything has to be a sorry, because when you're saying sorry, you're adopting blame and shame and guilt, right?
Yes.
And not everything needs to be adopted by shame and blame and guilt. And like when you say thank you, you're holding space for yourself. So here's an example. Like if somebody is making time to talk to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying something like, "Oh, I'm sorry if this is interrupting your day," right? To do that, you say instead like, "Oh, thank you for holding space for me." Because it also acknowledges that the efforts that the other individual is doing, but it also recognizes the value you have for that time being found for you. Otherwise, when you say, "Oh, I'm sorry if this is taking away from your day," you're saying indirectly, "I'm an inconvenience, and and that's a bad thing." But they're holding space to counter that belief, and that kind of puts down like them in an indirect way too. So I definitely encourage the other method.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a bad thing, but I rarely apologize.
Mm-hmm.
I only like apologize when I really feel like you said when you're taking on what were you saying? Accept or the blame and guilt or whatever, however the hell you said it. But you know, and like one of the last things I remember I actually like apologized for, like big time, was on Thursday. No, Monday. I don't know. Anyway, I think it was Monday, and I had called my engineer. Or it's Friday. I don't know. Anyway, so I called him and I was saying, "Hey, this project needs to be worked on." And he was like, "Oh, you know, yeah, I'll work on it, but I just want to remember, you know, I'm supposed to be on vacation." And I completely forgot. I mean, he wasn't technically on vacation at that moment. He said he was going to be on vacation like starting at noon or something. I think it was like 11 o'clock or something. And
Mm-hmm.
I completely spaced. And he was like, "I remember I'm supposed to be on vacation." I was like, "Oh my God, I am so sorry. I completely spaced. I apologize big time."
Right.
And, but because I was like, fuck, like I screwed up. But technically he wasn't on vacation. He was like, "Oh, well, I'm not like technically on, but I just remember." I was like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it. Like this needs to be done, but just, you know, just wait till you get back. I'm not going to force you to like go ape shit on this thing the last, you know, even though it does need to be done and like they want it done now." I'm gonna just tell them like, "Well, he's on vacation. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you."
Right.
And I had to
Because
fight
yeah.
with somebody else at my work about it. They're like, "Well, he's not gonna be back for a week." It's like, well, it's gonna have to wait a week. "Oh, what are we supposed to tell the customer?" It's going to have to take a week. I don't know. Like, I don't know why this is such a problem.
Yeah, because again, just to which I can go into that point in a second, but because that's a different type of sorry, I think. That's accountability, right? I
Yes.
think that accountability and inconvenience are two different things, right? So it's like the accountability is you had a human moment, you forgot. That happens, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it just is. And so when you say like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," you're also in that instance saying like, "Hey, like this wasn't intentional. Like you're like I recognize what I have done." And it's like, and in that accountability, it's like I will now just keep that in mind for the future, right?
Yeah.
That's a different type of sorry. I think that many a times though that the forms of accountability apologies versus inconvenience apologies get really muddied really quickly for people.
Well, it did for me apparently.
Yeah. Like, yeah, and that's common. So I think that also takes practice. I won't lie. That one took me practice because I kept saying I did the pendulum, the one extreme to the next, where then I never said sorry for a long time. I was like, I am apologizing. Like, because like then I'm like taking in all the blame, blah 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 blah. It's like, but there's a line in between. Like, you can't swing from one extreme to the next. People do typically because they want things to be very neatly put together in a bow. But once you realize what it means to really be a human, you realize that life is a lot full of a lot of gray area.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you see, like, basically in society now, that drastic swing, the pendulum swinging one way and the other with, like, just anything, like the Me Too movement, or, I mean, that's the big one that comes to my mind. This, like, I accept everyone for who they are and what they are, no matter what their flaws are. You have to accept them and praise them for it. And now it's going back the other way. It's like, well, you're kind of being a lazy piece of shit. You have to can't just suck on the freaking taint of society without contributing back. You got to do something. So now, like, we're on that backswing where it's going to go the other way, where it's going to be real mean to everybody again.
Yeah,
if the pendulum
people
keeps
are
swinging.
mean. People are mean right now. Like I don't know if I told you this, and without giving away too much, there was a Facebook group I was in that was for the community of the city that our eldest lives in. And there was I went in there because they were talking about something social, just to not make this too much of that. I'm just going to just say it's a social, something that causes social kind of discourse and discussion. Right?
Was it like the Nextdoor app or whatever the hell that people use, or?
It's kind of like that. It was a Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Or like a group, so people just go on there.
Okay.
But it's like that idea of hey, reporting these things,
Yeah, just local goings on.
Yeah, the local goings on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was something that somebody was saying that was for my values is very anti-human, mm-hmm. right? And I guess I was on a good one because sometimes I be doing that. I want to say I do not condone fighting with people on the internet because it is a losing battle. Just save yourself the energy and the time. Just don't fucking do it. But I was on a good one, and this is what I chose to do. And I was getting so much backlash from me trying to challenge and engaging in empathy, right? And I also did use the angle of and this is what I said, if you come from a spiritual background that would lean more into empathy and understanding, I encourage that to be brought into this, because I think this belief is lacking empathy, just from my perspective, right?
Right.
Oh man.
The tidal wave, the shit that came at you, right?
Oh man. I got so many things. And I got one that was just downright hilarious to me, where no, I can't even say on here because then that would say too much about me, but I'll tell you later. Anyway, no, I'll say it later. I'm just passionately wanting to, but I have to stop myself. And it was just the worst fallacies of thought and argument that I'm and then I would just respond with the approach of I'm not saying it's you versus me, it's you and me versus the problem, right? Mm-hmm. And how quickly people back down from me being the enemy in that moment. They stopped being mad at me, and they would just be I'm just frustrated with the situation. I'm yeah, and I'm sorry that because of that, it feels like you feel like you have to be against me. But this is what this issue makes people do. They make it think it's you versus me when it's us versus an issue but people wanted to just fight someone because they feel out of control.
Yes.
Right? And that's a lot of issues, I think, that are going on in the world. A lot of people feel like they have to fight somebody because they feel so out of control, right?
Right.
It's like, but I think it actually takes more courage and energy and vulnerability, true, when you say it's not you versus me, it's you and me versus the issue. Because that's gonna have to have you admit that you're hurting. That's gonna have you have a very open discussion. And people are just now more than ever, which is so ironic in my opinion, because now more than ever is like the highest point of the development of psychology ever, right? And yet this is also the most disconnected people are from vulnerability and emotional awareness, and autonomy. So a lot of it is that they want it to be where they want to protect themselves, but they want change to happen. But for change to happen, they have to focus on themselves, and that's not what they want to do.
Right.
It's a double-edged sword once again. The other thought I thought, this is just a side note one that has nothing to do with this.
Tangent.
This is the tangent, real quick. This is just purely as a stereo more than anything. I thought it was freaking hilarious because everyone that was coming at me had their religious affiliation in like their Facebook page, and I'm just like, I don't think that's what your background is all about. Like, if the people in like that prophesize or say the messages of love, care, and peace, to which I was trying to say, like similar tones in my message, were actually present in your life, I think that you would treat them like shit. Like, rather than like, oh, I'd accept them, they're like, they are like the savior. And I'm like, okay, but those were the messages that were being asked, and you said no, fuck you, blah blah blah, and like, and I was like, okay.
Brought to you by the Westboro Church.
I can, that's a tangent I could definitely go on, but I won't. But I won't. Because this isn't the time or place.
Yeah, but it's just, it kind of brings up the point that's funny about how people that claim to be part of something that's supposed to be represented in a certain way, and then they completely go against it.
Yeah.
I mean, a good example, now I'm not going to bag on religion on this one, but I'll bag on people that I relate to. The burners out at Burning Man.
Yeah.
This past burn, the big one was that group that blocked the road to the event, claiming their whole thing was, we're trying to raise awareness for global warming, and we're trying to help reduce, the use of fossil fuels and like help the environment. Yet we're going to do so. We're going to help reduce global warming by blocking a road and causing a 2-mile long line of big gas guzzling motorhomes to sit and idle in the middle of a hot desert for a good hour. I was like, that seems kind of contradictory to your whole point. And I saw that, I was just like, that's why that whole situation made me laugh, because I'm just like, man, you guys, you don't really know what side of the coin you're on. You know you're on a coin, but you don't know what side of it you're on. You're like, I'm on object sit.
Freaking yes.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta say, that's something. Yeah, that. Like, I can't think of anything else other than that noise to say. I have to say, when I say these things, I am not saying I'm a perfect human either. And as a human, I still get annoyed by these things, right? So it's like, oh gosh. Oh gosh. Sorry, I'm being sent messages and so forth still from what I was sharing earlier.
Good
but
job, Artemis, ruining the freaking stream because you had to start dumping information out on the internet.
Hey, he means well. He was doing it. I know he's coming from a kind place. So it's that what was I gonna say? Is that like people how do I say this? There's the way that do I think that there should be things that should change? Yes.
Yes.
Do I feel that people have beliefs similar to me in that? Yes. Right? Do I feel that the louder group that is on the swing of it, that is on the extreme swing of it, ruin that or impact actual movement and change to occur? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing. Even in the times where I've talked about my thoughts, my feelings, and so forth related to change, politics, blah, 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 these things, right?
Right.
Many times when I start saying these things without saying too much about myself, which I probably already have, but fuck it.
But fuck it.
But fuck it.
Yes.
In this economy, for free. Is this. Then the second I start talking about it, then I'm automatically for some folks they try to put me in the extreme category of people who also believe that, right?
Yes.
And I say that's not true either, right? Because even though it demonstrates some, it doesn't define all for me. They're just extremes that there's folks that think similar to me or share that they believe things similar to I do, or that I do. I just don't agree with, right? And that's the thing I always learned about the world and like change is that the people that are making the change are the ones speaking the loudest. It makes me think of the metaphor or the old kind of like saying of like the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah.
And it's like I have thoughts like, and I think it's gonna take time. It's like, but the ones that where things actually move, where things happen, are the ones screaming, right? And sometimes because they're so extreme, they don't like they're gonna fall into the extremes of the pendulum swing, I like to call it. So many a times I just kind of go back to like I'm gonna just live my silly little life, because that's a tale as old as time of the pendulum swinging to these extremes, because people don't know how to live in the in-betweens of the pendulum. They want to be in these very distinct, very identifiable boxes rather than the discomfort of like this fluidity of a gray area. And I like to live my life gray.
Yeah, and like one thing about throwing people into the extremes is one of the hot topics in this country, and mostly around the world about our country, is the discussion of gun control and how all of us damn Yankees got too many weapons. And the thing is, when I tell people that I own firearms, they automatically think I'm some, not everybody obviously, but you know, a lot of the people are like, oh, you're one of those crazy gun nuts that thinks that, you know, everyone should have guns. It's like, I don't, like, my thing is, should you be allowed to own firearms? Yes. Should the government take away your firearms? No. Should everybody be able to have a firearms? No. Not everyone should have one, because I've seen those people, and look, so as a person that owns them, I am 100% on board as making it hard as shit for anyone to get one. That crap needs to be locked down like Fort fucking Knox, because I'll throw out, I'm not going to say their name because I don't, one, it would be bad, and two, I don't know their name because they told me and I forgot. One of my neighbors, I just saw them handing a freaking firearm, a real one, to one of the kids that lives in that house, and he's just swinging it around, pointing it at people, pulling that damn trigger. I was like, holy shit. I was like, I understand now. This is why gun control needs to be put into effect, because I forgot those people exist.
See, here's the thing I feel about this, which, okay, since you brought it up, I'm going to talk about it, right?
Oh, and chat, they don't live in that direction. I'm just pointing at my refrigerator.
Okay.
So don't be like, okay, if I track his camera, he's probably looking over here. Must be that guy. No.
That guy. So this is the experience I'll say on regards to this, because I'm someone that very similar to what you shared. Like, do I believe that people, like, not all people should own a gun, right? No, I do not believe that every single person should own a gun, and I do think it should be quite difficult. Or there should be protocol, right?
Yeah, just like I think the same for buying a freaking car or getting your driver's license or fucking like having a child.
Yeah. Oh God, we do not have enough time here. I swear to God. I don't. Oh, sorry. I had to like reel that back in so quick. I can feel a part of me like running. I'll like stop. Don't. Is this? I grew up in a home. Again, I'm going to use I statements just because of specifically this experience. I grew up in a home where there were guns in the house, right? And I was raised in a home where folks are like with people that actively went hunting, right? Mm-hmm. And many of the things that I was taught was the importance of proper firearm, just safety. Safety, yes. Right? Like it doesn't matter if the gun is loaded or not. Like, don't point it at somebody. Make sure the safety's on. Do these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like when you're done, properly put it in the safe. Like there was a safe in the house, right? These things, right? Because again, it's not about owning, it's about setting up for proper maintenance and safety protocol so people can stay safe, right? And so also in that, because of the people that our father knew and the world that I was exposed to and all of that, I was exposed to how easily people can exchange guns and give each other guns without proper paperwork, without proper paper trails, without proper titles, and so forth. And they could easily get access, not just to unsafe people, but even children, like you saw yourself in your example,
mm-hmm.
like very, very easily, right? Like, so this is where I think I'm not saying I have to be like, oh, because I think that this is blah, 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 therefore I'm this political alignment. It's that I think just like anything to maintain the safety and the means of safety for all, there should be procedures. Like, it should be that way. Because that is what can maintain safety in a bigger way.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that's the whole point. That's why it's like anything that has that kind of power, not just firearms, but like I said, my big one, you've heard me complain enough over it, is freaking automobiles. My God, it's like, go ahead, be able to buy one as easy as you can, but the ability to drive it legally, I step out of my house every day going, how the hell are you legally behind the wheel of that thing? It boggles my mind every day. I'm just like, that thing is big, it's very heavy, it's very fast, and in my opinion, they're way too damn comfortable.
Yes. Oh my God. No, I'm gonna let this one run. Like this one's going. Here we go. Full sprint. Ever since I
Put your
moved to my
seatbelt
new
on
job.
and chat. Here we go.
Oh, ever since I had to move to the new job that I'm at, which it doesn't matter about the details of it all. It just is that I used to be in my old job. There's a carpool, and this one I don't have a carpool, right? So I have to drive myself mainly every day, right?
Mhm.
Which I get it, right? And I drive a good amount on a stretch of freeway, right? Oh man, okay, don't scream, Assyria. Like you're in the chat, okay? Because I feel the frustration.
Don't scream, don't scream. Just let it hold you. Let it hold you like a child.
Like I'm gonna give myself love right now. I like to hold to the rule that is in the California driving book. By the way, read it.
Yes, please, for fuck's sake, read that damn thing, because I know 95% of you have not that live in this state.
It says to know that you are at a safe distance with the person in front of you for proper response time. That when you pass a kind of like a freeway sign, right? Any sign that says like this destination, this whatever, right? This exit, whatever, right? When if you to tell if the proper distance is when they pass or when the car in front of you passes it, is that if you when you're driving up them, you start counting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. And if you say that right when you hit the same line of that sign, then you're good distance for the person in front of you, right?
Yes. But, I mean, that all depends on speed, vehicle, all that.
Sure. All those things, right?
Yeah, a lot of variables in that one.
There's a lot of variables. It's just the broadest way that they try to as much as like in a very broad sense for many people, right?
Yeah.
Which, yeah, right? In different cars, different, models, people, mileage, and so forth, right?
California rolls.
It's like, get off my ass. Get off my ass. Like, oh my God. And don't get mad at me if I'm not on the ass of the person in front of me. First of all, drive a boat of a car. That's all I'll say about my car. I drive a boat. That thing needs a second to slow down if it's on a good one. And so I hold that space because I'm trying to be prepared for the reactions and yes and all that, but for the stupidity of some people. Because if I have a thumb's amount of space between me and the car in front of me, and you think that's where I should go, you're stupid. I don't like you. I don't care who you are. Like, it does not fit, therefore you sit. You need space. You need reaction time. Like, yes. And you don't need to ride your brakes all the time. Like, for the love of God.
Yes. One thing I swear up and down, left and right is, like, in my opinion, is if you're good at driving, the way you can tell you're good at driving is the very little amount you actually need to touch the pedals, gas or brake.
Yes, correct. I 100% agree with you.
If
you do not need to do either. Like, people are like, you need to either go boom or boom. I'm like, no, I actually don't agree. Like, if you understand the distance between you and the car in front of you, and you see enough braking time, put your foot off the acceleration. That's it. Then guess what happens? Let it roll. Let it do what it does naturally. That doesn't you just being on your gas the whole time, right?
Yeah. So, and this is why I believe more people should honestly take a physics course. and understand
Yeah.
time and speed and distance and all that stuff, because it's just, I watch that all the time. I'm just like, why are you hitting your brakes? You have like a half a mile in front of you. You're doing 55 and a 65 and you're going uphill and you're like, time to hit the brakes. Like, no. Like, just go.
Yeah. We can anyway, but that is a non-therapeutic one, but gosh, may I say, like, no, actually I can still make that therapeutic, because I
Swing
can
it.
make many things that therapeutic, is because the thing is that the way that you drive can be a reflection of your relationship of trust of self and anxiety. God, I'm so good sometimes. I like to give myself pats on the back, because otherwise who's gonna do it? So me. And it's true. I think the way someone drives can tell you the relationship that an individual has with themselves. Truly. And also the trust that they have in themselves and of the world. Right? I'm gonna be honest. I always assume that everybody on the freeway can't drive. But I don't do that because I don't trust that you can't drive. Is that I have to assume you can't, so I keep myself safe.
Yes.
Right?
Prepare
So
for the
I have-
worst, hope for the best.
Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. That is also a mentality I adopt, right? No, actually, that isn't what I do. Now that I think about it, I'm like, I think my mentality is hope for the best, prepare for everything in between. That's my thing. So hope for the best, prepare for everything in between.
Gotcha.
Right? And because there are many people that are so that, because let's just think about driving for a second. I gotta be mindful of time, so I won't go too deep. And saying that driving is without the noise of like a radio, one of those big fancy front dash things in all the new electric cars or new cars in general. I can't relate. My car is 20 years old. And all of that is that outside of those, driving takes being alone with yourself.
Yes.
Right. And for many people, they are still actively trying to avoid being alone with themselves. I think they get so consumed by these avenues of distraction, even in driving, that just very similar to being outside of a driving setting, it can be dangerous and even life-threatening.
Right.
Because it disconnects. And in that disconnect, you don't know how to operate in the world in a kind of big, broad kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, it can kind of even be shown when like Pokemon Go came out and people were just wandering in the middle of the freaking road.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, just be where you're at and what you're doing. I mean, even like now, this happens more often than it used to. I will, from time to time, especially if I'm like somewhat in a bad mood, I'll turn the radio off and just when I'm driving and just let my thoughts wander.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. Is it fun?
It can be, like, because I just start like going over stuff as I'm driving, and like, but you know, other times like I need the radio on, or I'll listen to, you know, Your Mom's House and get a good laugh, or I'll put on the radio, especially if I'm going to the gym. I want some fast, upbeat music to get my blood going before I get there. You know, stuff like that.
That's true. That's also fair. I think that that's also, like, when people are like, what are ways I get to know myself a lot more? Drive without stimulation. Like, because when you sit there after a while, because your brain's already is trying to use as little as much as energy as possible to like be like of the road. Let's just be honest, because it doesn't have to. Like, that's just how brains work.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna start to realize that you're gonna kind of sit with yourself and sit with your thoughts. And many people are scared of sitting with themselves. They're like, I'm scared of what's going to come up. I'm scared of where it's going to take me and so forth. But when you do that in smaller increments and slowly develop the tolerance of that, you start to actually recreate a relationship with yourself. So if you're someone that's still struggling of like having this relationship and just being silent with self, just when you drive, just take times where you put a pause on the stimulation in the car. Like, you don't always have to have it all the time, but just do a little bit here and there. And after a certain point, just see if you can go, whether it be a small drive or a longer drive, whatever, of just sitting there in silence with yourself and see what comes up for you. I say that because just from personal experience, sometimes when I'm really stressed, I don't have the radio on or music playing when I'm driving. And I kind of just think. And in thinking, that helps me organize things better in my life. Because life is so busy, you don't actually always have opportunities to like kind of think about things and kind of just be with yourself. So, there's an opportunity right there in itself.
Yeah, and I actually would talk out loud to myself a lot in the car, and that's kind of one reason I wish I had a newer car, so at least people be like, oh, well, he's probably on a phone call, because they look at that car and they're like, that does not have Bluetooth capabilities.
Oh, you fuck the people around you, dude. You want to know something I do? I don't care who's listening. I'm going to just admit myself to this, what happens. I scream. Like, I curdling scream in my car when I am that fed up. And oh my God, it's awesome. It is so awesome because I am somebody that has had a disproportionate, underdeveloped relationship with my anger. That when I hold space to just have these big spurts of just in a safe environment where without judgment, without whatever, then I get out of the car, I'm like, oh, I feel great. Like, I feel good. I don't have to punch a wall. I don't have to project that into the world because I say, this is a gift for me. And then I scream and I'm like, thanks for holding that space for me, me. And then I'm like, you're welcome. And I feel better. I don't care who sees me or not. Like, I'm so tired of caring what the world thinks of me. And ultimately, one of the actual philosophies I practice, I'm not perfect because perfection doesn't exist, is I try to live up to the quote and the belief of your idea of me is not my responsibility to live up to.
Right.
It just isn't. So if you think I'm nuttier than squirrel shit, when you see me screaming in my car, like, okay.
Okay.
Like, and what are you gonna do now? If it doesn't mess with my money or me making in this world, I don't give a fuck. Those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind.
I've been hearing that a lot lately.
And that's what I gotta say about that.
All right, well, we're going to use that as a stopping point. I'm tired.
You know what? Me too. And I have a bunch of messages I have to respond back to.
Yes, I'm still alive. Oh, speaking of which, just real quick, Nadav, he's not dead.
Oh, then what the hell was that?
He's quitting the show.
Oh.
So, like, you sent me that, I was like, no, and I was like, you know what? I have a feeling this might be a joke. So I started Googling, and no, he's quitting the show, and he's gonna move on to some other projects.
Okay, well, so they're dead to him, or he's dead to them.
Yeah, I guess so. You know them.
Yeah, they made a whole thing. That was straight from Tom Segura's page.
Yeah, you know how they are, though. They fuck with people so bad.
That's so fucking hilarious. So thanks for that clarity. That was fucking hilarious to me then.
Yeah, Secret Wookie says, wonderful chats tonight, y'all. Thank you very much, Secret Wookie. I appreciate you coming back by. It's good to see folks stopping by, and even if like nobody in chat said anything. You know what? I'll say this. If nobody brought up a topic in chat, that's because everyone must be doing okay. this week?
It wasn't me. I was talking a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got messages to respond to now.
All right. I was talking. You said I was caught up listening, taking notes. Oh, good. Hopefully, those notes will help you out. But we're going to end it there. Thank you guys all for stopping by. There was a lot of chat going on between amongst yourselves, and I really enjoyed watching a lot of that stuff. So it's good that you guys are talking with each other. Let's try to keep that going. Again, we'll be back next week, same time, same place, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time for more Therapy Thursday. So if you have any thoughts throughout the week, write them down, or and bring them in next week. Or if you want to drop them into the Discord, there's a link below the stream to take you there, and you can drop into the mental health server or chat channel or whatever the hell they're called. Channels, text channels. Yeah, that's what it is. I had to look over at Discord. I was like, what is it called? Yeah, so you can do that. Again, for those watching on YouTube, thank you very much for making it to the end of the episode. It kind of fell off the hinges there towards the end, but that's fine. That's what happens. If you want to check it live, come over to Twitch. Go to twitch.tv/kilted_pork, or check the link in the description below the video. It'll take you right to my page. Give us a follow and come back by. Stream schedule. I keep saying this every freaking week, but I never get around to it. I want to do an Isaac stream in the morning sometime this weekend, or just sometime this weekend. But
you're gonna.
I don't know. School is an ass right now, so we'll see.
I hate that for you.
And then, of course, we'll be back Tuesday for Two Wheel Tuesday, where we jump on the bike and pedal our little tuchuses off and get our butts in shape. Which my legs are still killing me from this last one. We did over 2,000 feet of elevation gain on leg day. Like, I'm still walking like a freaking, like I'm walking. Like a zombie that doesn't have knees.
Oh no, a kneeless zombie.
Yeah, kneeless. All right, well, say goodbye, everybody. Say goodbye, Hysteria.
Goodbye, Hysteria.
Perfect. Okay, chat. We'll see you guys later. You have a wonderful rest of your week and weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Drink water, get some rest. Sleep is highly underrated. Get at it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye, chat. We'll see you later. Bye, bye, bye.